Welcome back, everybody, to the Meeple Marathon. Today I'm going to be giving you my full review of the Isle of Cats. The Isle of Cats is a puzzle polyomino game that has an excellent solo mode as well as a family mode and a standard multiplayer mode. So before I get into my review portion, I want to just give you a brief overview of the game. So let's take a look at how you play the game just very briefly right now. So this is Isle of Cats in a nutshell here. Very, very brief overview is that you're essentially trying to take these cat pieces here and place them onto your board, fitting them in puzzle-like pieces, and you can also, fill in with treasures, some being worth actual endgame points versus just common treasures. But ideally, you'd want to fill up your entire boat because at the end of the game, you're actually going to receive negative points for each room that you cannot completely fill out. But also any rats that are visible, they're going to give you negative points. So essentially, you start the game in a hole. But each round consists of a kind of drafting mechanic where you choose certain cards to look through, and then you need to decide whether you're going to purchase those cards. And all the cards you purchase then are yours. But at the same time, if you purchase too many cards, you don't have enough fish, which is the currency for everything in this game, to lure your cats in. So for your cats, you need fish and baskets. And so keeping up with having a certain number of baskets, whether it's like these permanent baskets or basket cards, which kind of look like this would be 2 half baskets, which would equal 1. But again, you're going to have to pay for these to a certain degree. So you basically go through a round of card drafting, then you decide which cards you want to pay for and keep, and then you go around and around and around, choosing which cats you want to lure as long as you have the right amount of fish and enough baskets to lure them onto your boat. As soon as you lure one on, you have to place it immediately. And again, like I said, your objective is to fill up your boat so that by the end of the game, your boat should look something like this. So this is just an example of, how you would fill out your boat. You can see that I did not complete this room, I did not complete this room, or this room. But other than that, I filled out all the rest. I've also got like colors grouped together where they're all touching, and that's how you score the main points. You're also going to score the points based on lesson cards, which you can, again, you'll draft, but then you have to pay for. Some of them will be public lessons for everybody to score off of, and some of them will be private lessons. But these will all give you various direction in the game on kind of how you personally can score points, which is really nice because it means that everybody's going to have a different strategy every single game. What's really nice about this solo mode is that the solo mode has these same lessons, but they are directly for the solo game, and they are lessons that the AI is going to score off of your boat, which is a really unique concept of the fact that you are in complete control of how many points the AI is going to score, but at the same time is it hampering you from reaching your goals. And you can't always keep the AI, which is called your sister in this case, from scoring points. So the AI scores basically based on these lesson cards, but also every game she's going to rank the color of cats in a random order. So one game orange, she may get the most points off, so you want to keep them off your boat. Green, but then the next game it could be completely reversed, and green could be worth the most points for her, and red could be the least. So you'd want to put more red cats into your boat. So again, basically the games only last 5 rounds. They go by pretty quickly, and the main aspect of the game is choosing which cat you want and fitting it onto your boat. So let's talk briefly about components. For the most part, component quality for this game is excellent. The cardboard for the boats and are really thick. Thicker than anything else, which is really nice. I don't feel like these are going to warp very easily or bend or anything's going to happen to the boats. They also give you these little tiny Meeple cats, which you use as round trackers. You'll use them for the wild cats here. Use them for various reasons. And you can get upgrades of these, but I feel like these are really nice just on their own. The Kickstarter upgrades make them bigger and put some print screening on them. The fish tokens are also fine. You can also get upgraded wooden Meeple fish tokens, which I feel like would be nice, but are not necessary. These tokens certainly are, they get the job done for whatever you may need. The card quality is pretty standard. It's not amazing, but it's not cheap. They feel fine. They've got a nice smooth finish to them, so shuffling is pretty easy. So card quality is pretty standard. The only thing that I'm a little bit begrudging to is the actual cat tiles themselves. For the one point is that punching them out, actually I got very close to, and some of them did actually start to peel away as I was punching them out. The punches were not very clean, and for a game where the main component of the game is these cardboard polyomino pieces, I feel like they definitely should have made sure the manufacturer had those punch outs to where they were almost falling out as soon as you picked up the board, but they didn't punch out super easily, and so there are a handful of tiles that I'm worried are going to start peeling open, and I'll have to figure out how to glue them later on. It also doesn't help that for the most part, most of the tiles are stored inside this giant discovery bag and are just kind of mixed around. I worry that they will get bent up over time, but I also don't see any way the game would be way too expensive if you did them with with plastic. It would also be super heavy, so the weight of them and the thickness of them are fine. They're not cheap. They're not paper either. I just was a little disappointed in how well they punched. Another thing that I'm not a super big fan of, as you can see right here, I deliberately left this spot out for these instances where you have like a C shape and two C shapes interlocking. They don't really line up very well. I have like smashed them down, but then again, they're hard to separate, and I'm worried I'm gonna damage the cardboard. So for the most part, these, they're nice and straight lines, and they hold their shape very well, and they fit on the board nicely. But right here just kind of bothers me, and I know I'm getting nitpicky at this point, but they easily could have made the size of these, reduce the width just by mere fractions, and these types of situations would have laid flat on your board. Again, I'm getting super nitpicky for a game that for the most part has really good component quality. I just feel like they could have gone above and beyond with the main component of the game, which is these cat tiles. But other than that, component quality excellent. Let's go back and talk about the game. So let's talk about the game. Normally in a review like this, I cover what I dislike about the game, what I have mixed feelings about the game, and what I love about the game. But honestly, there's really not a whole lot that I can complain about the game in general. Now, this game isn't necessarily for everyone. Obviously, there is this spatial puzzle element to the game, and it involves a lot of these polyomino pieces. For some people that may just be too much to handle, but if you are not the type of person who enjoyed Tetris or like Dr. Mario or any of those types of fitting the pieces in and making them work type of game, then this may not be the type of game for you. But personally, I really enjoy the spatial puzzle aspect of these placing polyomino games, and so for me, I really can't find anything wrong with these games. So let's talk about what was just kind of okay for me. In general, you have a huge stack of discovery cards. This is essentially what comes in the base game alone. That's a pretty big stack, and especially when you're playing solo, you're only going to go through like a third of it. So as long as you do a decent round of shuffling in between your solo games, you're going to see very different cards. What I was not a fan of was after 4 plays or so in a row was the fact that these basket cards felt just very mundane to me, very samey, because essentially there's just these 5 types of basket cards. You've got your freebie, half a basket, and then you've got your cheap half basket with 1 boot. Then you've got your half basket with 3 boots. Then you've got your standard basket with 1 boot. And then your 1 basket with 3 boots. And then technically there's this one that's just 4 boots. And basically there's just a whole bunch of these mixed into the cards. And that's it. And I felt like there could have been a little bit more variety in these cards. For the most part, the other discovery cards, the lesson cards, the treasure cards did feel a little samey as well, because they're basically either the pick 1 rare or 2 uncommon, or the pick 2 small uncommons or pay a fish to pick 2 uncommons. Other than that, there was no other type of treasure cards. So I wish that they had just mixed things up just a little bit. Now, with that being said, this is just the base game. I will be receiving all of the newest expansions when the Kittens and Beasts Kickstarter delivers, and that may add a lot of variety. I have not picked up the Late Arrivals expansion simply because I'm primarily playing this solo, and the biggest thing that expansion adds is 5 to 6 players. If I find out that my group really likes this game and I could play it more with 6 players, maybe I'll pick up Late Arrivals. I do know that they do add in a few more cards, lessons, and things like that to mix things up. So maybe eventually if I see it on sale or something like that, I may pick it up. But for now, as a solo player, the Late Arrivals just doesn't seem worth it to me. But I would like to have seen a little bit more variety. It's a huge stack of cards, but I feel like it's basically just 10, 12 copies of the same card over and over and over again. But that's really about it. I have some mixed feelings about the components, which I already discussed. But again, I feel like the component quality is great. It was just really kind of the punching out and the ones that don't fit. So I already talked about that in my component section, so I'm not going to harp on it now. But that really would be the only other thing that I could think of that would fit into the I have mixed feelings about category. So why do I love this game? Well, again, I already spoke about what type of people would enjoy this game. People who are spatially oriented, people who prefer geometry over algebra, and seeing the board and being able to fit those shapes in and filling out this space, I think is definitely the type of person this game focuses on. If you enjoyed Tetris as a kid, you will love this game at any level, the family level, the solo level, or the multiplayer level. This is also a really nice game if you are in a situation where you play some solo, but you do have a gaming group that is not too serious, but is enough to pick up a game like this. They don't want to play Monopoly or Codenames every time. But also if you have a family, this game it scales really well. So if you're looking for a game that you can get a lot of mileage out of within, if you have a family and a gaming group and you like to play solo, this is a really nice game for you. And again, I can't express this enough. This is a, spatial puzzle at the end of the day. So I really enjoy that aspect of the game. And there are other spatial puzzle games, polyomino games out there. This one, what really shines for this one, especially in solo mode, are the solo lesson cards. So these are going to be the cards that come out right at the beginning of the game, and along with the color cards, so the order in which these come out in, is really such a unique element for the AI, because basically they're scoring off of what you put into your boat. So they're not just gaining random points. You are in control the entire time of what you put into your boat and how your AI scores. There is no randomness to it. You are in complete control of it. But at the same token, sometimes it just really derails you. I've had some games where I have just completely been crushed by the AI because I'm so focused on trying to keep the AI from scoring points that I completely don't pay attention to my lessons or filling out the rooms or whatever it may be. So I think that's just a really unique aspect for the AI to have. and to play against. So I feel like, again, this game really shines in trying to figure out that puzzle and walk that line between putting what you need into the boat and keeping out what your sister, the AI, needs. Another aspect of this game that I really like is the kind of, you get a certain number of cards at the beginning, and you also get a certain number of currency. In this game, it's fish, but you have to spend the fish on those cards, which then you use. But the same token, then, if you spent all your fish on cards, you wouldn't have any fish left over to lure in your fish. This kind of mechanism became very popular with terraforming Mars. You got a certain amount of currency in at the beginning of every round based on where your level was, but then you had to get all these cards and you had to pay for them, and you had to decide right then and there, is this card worth paying for right now? And if I paid for a bunch of cards, I wouldn't have nearly as much currency to do stuff with that round until I, got more money in from the bank. And that was a kind of a beautiful, tough decision you had to make in terraforming Mars at any level, whether it was playing solo or multiplayer. And it's the same for this one, solo or multiplayer. You're having to make that decision on which of these cards are worth paying for, or do I want to save my money? And it's just a really great mechanism that is not overly complicated, but makes you feel like you've put a lot of thought into the game. And I also, I'm just trying to look through my list here so I don't leave anything out. I really do like how the game can very easily scale in difficulty for the solo players. Again, I've been focusing my play on solo, and it's as easy as adding in 1, 2, or 3 additional cards. The rules don't change, the complexity really doesn't change. I mean, I guess the complexity does change because it becomes more difficult, but I can easily beat my sister on standard easy difficulty. I add in 1 card and I'm usually doing okay, but I don't win every time. If I add in 2 cards and go from medium to hard, usually I'm just like overwhelmed by trying to keep my sister from scoring points. I've never even attempted very hard. But I appreciate that it's there. But I mostly appreciate that it's so easy to change the difficulty round or game in and game out. So again, if you are the type of person who loves puzzle games or loves being able to have a spatial puzzle that you kind of have to visualize and fill out and is using very geometric shapes and all that stuff, this is definitely the game for you. If you don't do well with spatial elements, if you don't do well packing your car, if you don't do well organizing a closet, this is probably not the game for you. You would probably find this overly, I don't know what the word is, but taxing instead of fun. But for me, I love figuring out how to pack a car. I loved Tetris as a child. I loved Dr. Mario, and just getting all those pieces to fit together. I love doing puzzles in general. So this game really speaks to me. It really shines for me. And I think if you're like me, then you will really appreciate this game. Also, if you are a solo only player like me, I feel like I'm definitely getting my money's worth out of this game, even though it is a multiplayer game with a family mode and a solo mode. I don't feel like the solo mode is just tacked on. It is very fleshed out, some really well thought out cards and rule sets put into it, which makes for a great experience every single time. There's enough variety that it's, it doesn't feel like I'm certainly not going to master this game anytime soon. So that is my full opinion of the Isle of Cats. If you enjoyed this video, please consider giving it a thumbs up. And if you'd like to see more videos like this in the future, please consider subscribing to the channel. Once again, thanks for watching. Have a great day.